New developments on a very cold case stretching back decades. An Illinois judge setting a trial date yesterday for Jacqueline Greco. Her husband was shot to death in 1979 in his home in what appeared to be an unsolved home invasion. But all that changed more than 30 years later when authorities uncovered a recorded phone conversation between Greco and her sister, during which she allegedly implied that the whole thing might have been staged as part of a murder plot. Let's bring in Wendy Patrick, veteran prosecutor and trial attorney, and Brian Claypool, criminal defense attorney. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks, John.
The story here is, it reads like something out of Hollywood. The victim, her husband, was a high-rolling commodities trader with a hot temper. These guys, two guys, show up at the family house. They're wearing nylon masks over their faces. They tie up the soon-to-be widow and her three small children. When the husband comes home, they take him down into the basement and shoot him to death with his own guns, then run away. That's a pretty weird story to start with. She is not charged with murder, though, Wendy. Why not?
Well, John, warming up a cold case often involves re-examining much of the facts and circumstances from the very beginning. This is a conspiracy theory. This is something that has been suspected over the years. But remember, nobody actually charged her before 2013, when prosecutors had a second look. Think about this. 1979, okay, Brian and I were listening to the Bee Gees on 8-track tapes back then. That is how long ago this murder occurred. Yet justice delayed is not justice denied, and all of the forensics, all of the evolution that's happened with some of the technology that is going to come into play, including the use of actual statements, is going to help, and that's why this case was finally set for trial.
Well, the plot gets a little thicker. Apparently on the night after her husband was murdered in their home, she had a pool party, and one of the people who was attending was a Chicago detective who married her, moved in with her a week later and married her 4 months later. Now, they have since divorced. He is not charged. He's apparently not been making any comments to the media. But I don't know, Brian, if it walks like a duck, maybe?
Well, John, first of all, I was listening to REO Speedwagon, not the Bee Gees. Okay. Sorry, Wendy.
Good to get that ironed out.
Hey, John, this is not cold case justice. This is save face justice. This is a police department and a prosecutor who couldn't solve a crime. You've got 30, 40 years. They couldn't find the two killers that actually killed her husband, and now they're trying to manufacture a charge 40 years later. This is like a political playground for prosecutors that are playing roulette with innocent lives. It has to stop. If you parse the onion here, you don't find anything underneath, John. There's no forensic or physical evidence that links her to the crime. And Wendy made a good point. She's going to be charged with a conspiracy, John. You need to have evidence of an agreement between her, Greco, and the two killers to prove a conspiracy. If you can't find the two killers, you can't prove an agreement between those folks. So this is a manufactured charge to save face for the prosecutor.
Greco is the name of the Chicago police detective she was dating. Apparently, she was rumored to be having an affair with at the time. He moved in with her a week after the killings. But, the plot does get a little thick, Wendy, when you hear that this recording in which she apparently implicated herself was just made in 2013, something about a statement along the lines of, "I'll have you killed like I did my husband." Why would they make such a recording? They had to get a judge's okay to tap her phones, right?
Well, it depends on whether law enforcement did it or whether it was a private citizen. Obviously, law enforcement is able to do those types of things. But part of what we have to look at here is the three of us are not privy to all the facts and circumstances surrounding the decision to bring these charges. We will get to see more of the evidence when we get to prelim, and we're going to be watching it closely because, as you've both alluded to, words matter. In other words, what exactly can somebody say that can be interpreted several different ways? And what prosecutors need need to do is make sure that there's enough evidence that proves guilt. But remember, they're not allowed to bring a case unless they believe they can prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. So that we're going to see more and more of the evidence that they have, in addition to this tape that we're hearing so much about that was made in 2013.
Well, her late husband, Carl Gaimari, described as a hot-tempered, high-rolling commodities trader, had some issues of his own. Her children are standing behind her. But again, she is charged. We will keep an eye on this case. Brian Claypool, Wendy Patrick, thank you both.